What happens when a dinner dare under the table turns into legal papers in my hand? How can a quiet husband answer public shame with rules, not rage, and still win? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Zuleika North. I am 32, a reception and billing coordinator at a small architecture studio. I smile for a living and make lists that look like care. My husband, Aaron, is 35 and likes order. He plans meals, marks calendars, and speaks in gentle steps. Our daughter, Iona, is 7 and watches everything. She asks tidy questions at the worst times. I say I will explain later. The trouble began at a birthday dinner with friends. I sat between laughs and wine and thought I deserved a little spark. Aaron's best friend, Milo, treats life like a game. I decided games were better than silence. I called it a test. I called it proof I was still wanted. Aaron sat across from me and stayed calm. He asked if I needed anything. I said I was fine. After dinner, I posted a sunny caption and told myself love should breathe. I said strict people turn houses into offices. I said a harmless touch is just air moving under a tablecloth. I believed every line while I typed it. I was sure I could control the story and keep the room on my side. That certainty broke quickly. I lined up the dinner plates by the sink and let hot water run until the steam felt like a curtain. I told Aaron the night was lively and that people should allow a little play. I said Milo had only checked if I was ticklish under the table, like a joke between old friends. I made my voice light and fast. Aaron asked why I had moved my chair closer to Milo halfway through the meal. I said my dress kept sliding and I needed to fix it. He asked why I had not told him if I needed space. I said the room was crowded and I wanted to keep things easy. I saw the questions forming, so I moved faster with the sponge and clattered the glasses on purpose. I told him a marriage should breathe. I said I had carried long weeks of quiet and that a spark at a birthday table should not crush the house. He asked if I wanted to call what happened a spark or a boundary. I said boundaries are for people who cannot handle life. I added that he had turned our living room into a filing cabinet and left me no air. He did not raise his voice. He said he heard me. He wiped the counter in neat circles, like he was erasing a chalkboard no one else could see. Kira texted to ask if the table story was going online. I wrote that a soft caption helps people understand modern love. She sent a line about fun wives saving marriages. I copied part of it into my notes. Sahar sent a row of fire emojis and asked if I had footage. I replied that stories are stronger when they live in the imagination. She said imagination still needs angles. I told her to wait for a rooftop night. I placed 2 wine glasses upside down on the rack and watched the drops gather at the rims. Aaron set his mug on the far counter, not near mine. He asked if I had told Milo to stop. I said there was nothing to stop because it was a joke. He asked if a joke still counts when it hides under a table. I said secrecy is only mystery when people ruin it with shame. I heard my own words and liked how clean they sounded. I rested one hand on the edge of the sink like a talk show guest who knows the camera loves confidence. Iona called from her room and asked if tomorrow still had library time. I said yes, and that Daddy would remember the card. She asked if we were happy again. I said we were talking like adults, and that adults talk in different tones. Aaron stepped into the hallway and told her to sleep. His voice was low and gentle. He returned and placed a towel near the stove. He asked if I had anything else to add. I said only that he had starved me of attention for months and now wanted to supervise my appetite. I opened my phone and posted a caption with soft light on the plates. I wrote that joy needs air and that fear squeezes hands under tables. I avoided names. I kept the verbs simple. Likes began to land. Someone asked if marriage means silence. I replied that marriage means motion. I watched the numbers climb and felt taller than the sink. Aaron said he was going to the balcony for air. I followed and leaned against the slider, so my reflection hung over his shoulder. The street looked wet, though there had been no rain. I told him the night was a test to see if he still wanted me. I said Milo's hand only proved I was alive. Aaron asked why my tests always cost him respect. I said respect is not fragile if it is real. He said I was moving the goalposts. I said goals move when players grow. He sighed through his nose, not his mouth. The sound rubbed against my pride. His phone lit on the table by the door. A small banner said, Bluefinch Cafe, 7:55 a.m. He reached in, dismissed the reminder, and turned the screen face down. I asked if he had a breakfast date. He said the morning had errands. I said I like to know when private meetings get called errands. He said we could discuss schedules after Iona's school drop-off. I said schedules kill desire. He looked at the night instead of me and said desire is not a schedule but a promise kept. I messaged Milo in a private thread and told him the room had overreacted. I wrote that Aaron had a jealous streak and needed to learn to laugh. Milo replied with a shrug emoji and said he was sorry if I got heat. He asked if we were good. I told him we were fine and that next time he should be cooler because people like to make small things big. He sent a thumbs up and nothing else. I stared at the single icon and wondered why it felt like a door closing. I thought about leaving the balcony and making tea. Instead, I stayed to finish my argument. I said I could not keep living in a house where lists make love. I said he had trained me to look for sparks elsewhere by forgetting to look at me. He said I was responsible for my hands and my choices, in public and in private. I said I was responsible for fun because he refused to hold it. He said words were cheap and patterns were not. Inside, his laptop sat closed on the edge of the table. A thin binder, labeled Utilities, rested beside it, thicker than bills should make it. The mail stack was flipped to a clean side. The air held a faint smell of toner, like the office after hours. I told myself he was staging the room to guilt me. I told myself paper noise could not beat applause. I scrolled my caption again and counted the comments like proof. He stepped inside and rinsed his mug. He asked if I wanted anything else from the kitchen. I said I wanted to feel chosen in my own house. He said he had chosen this house and me and our child every day. I said daily choosing looks like habit and looks boring from the outside. He said outside is not the test. I said outside is the only place with witnesses. I opened the sliding door again and leaned out so my voice would carry just enough to feel dramatic. I told him I would not apologize for being wanted. He said wanting was not the point, keeping promises was. I said promises change when people grow. He said vows do not change when someone laughs at them. My phone lit with a message banner from a contact, saved as a single emoji. The preview flashed and vanished before my thumb touched the glass. I felt a small panic, and then told myself it was only Sahar offering me a rooftop slot. Behind me, the balcony door eased inward as Aaron returned to the living room. The latch clicked soft and final, like a coin dropping into a jar. I stood in the kitchen and listened to the sound settle into the plates and the towel and the closed laptop. I typed Kira a new message and said the narrative was under control. I wrote that people loved modern honesty. She sent back hearts and a line about throwing glitter on dull men. I allowed myself to believe it. I told myself the house would bend around my version, or it would break for the right reasons. I picked up the towel and felt the clean cotton against my fingers. I told myself I was not cruel, only awake. Aaron stacked 2 mugs on opposite sides of the counter, one near the kettle and one near the sink. He said he would set the alarm for school and asked if I could print Iona's reading list in the morning. I said I would if the printer agreed to my worth. He did not bite. He said good night. I said I was not done. He said we could continue after sleep. He turned off the light above the stove and left the doorway empty. I held my phone up to my face and watched my own caption glow. I convinced myself the glow was enough. at least for tonight. I reached the studio early and chose a desk by the window where the plants looked too green to be real. I liked the shine. It made the office feel like a set, and me like the host. I placed my badge from the dinner on the keyboard and framed a small photo of my coffee and my smile. I typed a caption about how marriage needs oxygen and work needs brave women. I hit post. Hearts began to fall like small coins. I watched them more than the inbox. People came in with soft hellos. Keyboards woke. Someone joked about Monday. I answered that my weekend had been lively and that friends bring energy. I did not say which friend. Galen walked past my desk and paused. He asked how the birthday crowd was. I said it was warm and messy, the way good nights should be. He nodded and moved on, but his face had the careful look he uses before feedback. I told myself the look was only habit. Before work, I had crossed our dining table to close Caleb's laptop. A red circle glowed on the shared calendar around a block that said City Archive, 3:35 p.m. He never circles library things. I shut the lid with 2 fingers and told myself it was a boring errand. Now, with the office hum around me, the time floated in my head like a cherry on something I did not order. I opened messages. Sahar had sent a late-night photo of the dinner table. In the picture, the candles made a soft cave. Everyone looked blurred and happy. My hand was mostly under the tablecloth. The angle hinted more than it showed. Sahar asked if she should tag me. I typed that tag's help, then erased it, then typed it again. I said yes, but to keep it cute. She sent a heart and wrote that the rooftop needs my voice this week. I drafted the schedule email for clients and tried to sound steady. My fingers wanted to type about honesty and breath. I scrolled my post again and liked 3 comments that praised modern love. A coworker, Dara, stopped by my desk with a mug and said the caption was bold. I said, bold is healthy. She asked if Aaron liked bold. I answered that some men prefer quiet, as if quiet is a personality. She said, quiet can be care. I said, care can be control. She let it go. My phone buzzed with a DM from Milo. He wrote that last night was fun and that I should not let anyone kill the joke. He sent a shrug. The single icon irritated me. I told him we were fine and that people are dramatic. I wrote that he should be cooler next time because rooms like to make small things big. He replied with a thumbs up and nothing else. The emptiness of the reply made me want to talk louder elsewhere. Around 10, Galen appeared again and asked for a quick word in the glass room. His tone was gentle, which meant serious. I followed and took a chair that squeaked as if it knew the script. He said a client had seen my caption and asked if our studio endorses party posts. He said the brand does careful work and wants calm staff pictures. I smiled and said the brand also uses my personality for reach. I said my warmth brings in small jobs and keeps the phone alive. He said he valued warmth but not risk. He used the word risk like it weighed something. I told him I was only being honest about grown-up life and that honesty feeds trust. I added that some partners do not understand modern marriage and I should not be punished for having energy. He did not push back on the marriage part. He asked if I would keep personal talk off the studio tag for a while. I said I could adjust tone. He said that would help. The talk ended with a soft nod and a door that sighed. Back at my desk, the comments under Sahar's photo started to rise. She had tagged me and used a laughing caption about under-the-table secrets. I watched the numbers jump. Some people said I was brave. Some asked if Aaron minded. I liked the brave comments and ignored the questions. Kira texted that I needed a rooftop toast this week and that the city loves a woman who teaches fragile men how to breathe. I wrote that I would consider it. She said, consider is weak and that I should deliver. I checked my DMs to see if Milo had sent anything new. Nothing. I looked for Damien, the head of a client I want next quarter. He had seen my story and left no reply. I told myself leaders keep their phones on silent in the morning. A minute later, Galen messaged a link to policy about social posts tied to the brand. He asked me to read it. I wrote that I would, and I added a smile face to look easy. The smile did not move him. He sent another message that said a client asked if our studio staff often made jokes about private lives at public dinners. I typed that people project. Then I deleted it and wrote that I was trimming my caption. I tried to work. The subject lines in my inbox looked like small fish I could not catch. I stood, refilled my water, and saw 2 mugs by the office sink, one near the kettle and one alone by the window. It made me think of our kitchen and the way Caleb placed mugs on opposite counters, like a diagram. I told myself this was not a sign and that ceramic cannot write law. The office printer woke up with a mechanical cough and pushed a single blank page into the tray. People joked about ghosts. The smell of toner spread in a thin wave. I watched the blank page like it was a cue. My phone buzzed with a calendar memory of the red circle, City Archive, 3:35 p.m. I pushed the thought down and opened my camera for a desk clip. I filmed my hands and wrote a caption about balance, how good women can be fun and still pay bills on time. I liked the line because it made me the hero and kept Aaron in the shadow. Ruth sent a text that asked if Iona could sleep early tonight because school had a reading check in the morning. The text was careful and kind. I wrote back that we would see. She sent a small prayer hands emoji. I found it heavy. I forwarded the text to Kira and wrote that in-laws always try to manage. Kira replied that I should post something bright and drown the calls. Galen stopped by my desk again, softer now. He said another client had screenshotted my caption and sent it to him with a nervous face. He asked if I could take the studio tag off my last post. I said I would look at it later. He said now would be better. I kept my voice easy and said I had a deadline in 5 minutes. He nodded and left. The 5 minutes turned into 10. I did not touch the tag. My phone vibrated with a group chat ping. Sahar had dropped a rooftop invite with my name in bold and a teaser that said the famous knee line would be told live. Comments stacked fast. Someone typed that I should teach a class on keeping a marriage fresh. Another asked if Aaron would attend. I typed that my husband believes in silence and that silence can watch from the back. Hearts landed. The energy made my skin tingle. I told myself I was right again. I opened a private thread with Caleb and wrote that my week was heavy and he needed to be flexible with pickup. He replied that Iona needs steady times. I typed that flexibility is a modern skill. He did not answer for a while. The pause annoyed me more than a no. I told myself the pause was control. I told myself he wanted me to beg for simple yeses, so I would not. The printer spooled again and spit another blank page. It sounded like a signal. The office chat pinged a second time, with a list of names and a time for the rooftop. The time sat there like a promise. People around me started to talk about drinks and posted selfies with office light. I stared at the blank page and thought of the red circle on the home calendar. I shook my head, smiled at my camera, and framed my face for a quick story about courage. The ping kept coming, fast and bright, while the printer hummed beside me like a drum. The rooftop looked like a small stage hung in the sky. Strings of bulbs made a soft crown around the rail. The city lights felt close enough to touch. I arrived early with Sahar and Kira because a room is easier to own when you open it. Sahar tested angles with her phone and said the light was kind. Kira said the city wanted a story. I said the city would get one. I liked the sound of my own plan. It kept my chest warm. People came in pairs and lines. Coats moved from shoulders to chairbacks. Drinks landed. Phones went down face up like little silver mirrors. Sahar asked if I was ready to speak. I said a toast needs the right beat. She nodded and lifted her camera anyway. I placed my hands on the rail and watched the street below, like I had built it. The music was steady and cool. It kept everyone awake even when no one spoke. Aaron arrived with the same careful walk he uses in busy places. He greeted two people near the door, and then stood a half step apart from the group, close to the edge. He put his glass down and looked at the skyline. He did not look at me. I read the stillness as a trick. I told myself he was staging a saint act. I decided to make the room pick a side. I warmed the nearest circle with soft lines about friendship and long weeks. I said good nights can fix dull months. People nodded because they wanted to be included in good. Someone asked if the birthday dinner had been wild. I said it had been honest. I said marriages need oxygen. The word oxygen made heads tilt. Sahar stepped closer because she knew the taste of a viral word. Kira told me to raise my glass. I did. I said a brave wife keeps love awake by refusing fear. I said playful tests are not crimes when the core is strong. Laughter rose around the rail. A man from accounting tapped his glass to mine. Sahar filmed from a low angle, so I looked taller. I saw Aaron in the far left of the frame and liked the contrast. My light, his shade. I held the pose just long enough for the cut. Milo showed up late with two friends I had seen at other nights. He moved like he owned small rooms and borrowed big ones. He drifted to my side of the circle. He asked if everyone had recovered from the cake. I said people were dramatic over sweet things. He smiled in the way that hides first. Sahar swung the camera to catch us both. I let the lens see closeness without proof. I wanted rumor, not fact. Rumor makes better fuel. The chant for a toast started near the DJ and rolled toward us. Sahar nodded like a conductor. I lifted my glass and spoke about dinner tables and trust. I said a touch means nothing if the home is safe. I said the real problem is small men who cannot breathe beside bright women. The crowd laughed and clapped. I felt the sound push against my skin like warm air. I let it push me taller. Aaron stayed quiet. He did not step in. He did not frown. He watched the city line the way a person watches a train schedule. I told myself he was performing calm to make me look wild. I asked myself why calm felt like an insult. It did, and I hated that it did. I wanted his voice so I could twist it. He refused me the scene. Sahar sent me a clip from the last minute so I could post it fast. My hands were already steady. I overlaid a caption about strength and play. Heart started within seconds. A coworker yelled from the back that I should tell the famous knee story. Kira echoed the call and added my name. I pretended to resist for one breath. I said the story was only a small dare. I said a good wife can carry heat and not drop the home. I let the room imagine whatever shape they wanted. Milo leaned close on the smoking patio when I stepped out for air. The patio was narrow and made the alley look like a dark river. He asked if I was okay with the noise. I said noise is proof. He said Aaron looked stiff. I said stiffness is a brand some men enjoy. Sahar hovered near the door, with her camera pointed down so she could lift it fast. I stood where the light traced my cheek and let the wind move my hair. It looked like a mood in my head. My phone hummed with a single line from Milo earlier in the day. It was only a shrug. I wanted more than a shrug now. I wanted a line I could use. I typed that people were obsessed and we should be careful. He replied that we should keep it light. The words made me feel both held and alone. I told myself that was normal for leaders. When I re-entered the main space, I caught a glow on Aaron's lock screen as he checked the time. A recurring block showed for a blink and then dimmed. It read, Meeting. Personal, Harbour Hall, 10:20 a.m. He turned the phone face down when he saw me look. I asked what Harbour Hall was. He said it was a place with chairs. The answer sounded like a closed door. The tiny pebble feeling went into my shoe again. Sahar whispered that Ruth had liked one of my older family posts. She said the in-law watchers were awake. I looked across the deck and saw Aaron glance at his phone again. If Ruth had sent him something, he gave no sign. He put his hands in his pockets and stood like a person waiting for the elevator that will come when it comes. The patient scraped at my pride. I lifted my glass for a second run. I said a partner who doubts is not a partner. I said, doubt is disrespect in plain clothes. The words felt strong and simple. People cheered. The bulbs hummed. Sahar filmed my face and then tilted to catch Aaron again. The cut would be clean, me blazing, him quiet. I sent a private message to Kira and wrote that the night was mine. She answered with a line about crowns. I believed her for that minute. A woman from marketing asked if Milo was the hero of the story or the joke. I said he was proof that my life has gravity. I saw Milo's face try to be a grin and then choose neutral. He said he did not want trouble. I said trouble is a word people use when they mean attention. He laughed without sound. Sahar captured that too, because silence can sell. The air felt thinner, like we had climbed a small hill. I could hear my own breath under the beat. I wanted one more push to lock the narrative. I told the circle that I test because I refuse to rot. I said the brave wife keeps the room awake so the marriage does not die in its sleep. It was a line built for video. It made parts of the crowd go still for a beat and then cheer, which is the best kind of cheer. Aaron moved his glass an inch and looked at the exit. He asked if I needed a ride later. The question sounded practical and also like a boundary. I said I would ride with the city. He nodded once. He gave the night no more than that. I hated the nod because it said he would not chase and he would not fight. It said he would not feed my frame. It said he would choose something else. Phones were up everywhere now. Faces glowed blue and gold. The circle closed in front of me, the way a small crowd becomes a crowd. Sahar signaled the DJ to drop the volume for the next line. I opened my mouth to give it. My skin buzzed. My hand lifted the glass in the practiced arc. The elevator doors at the far end slid open with a soft metal sigh. At the same time, a camera flash popped near the bar. The chant for one more story rose clean and loud and rolled toward me like a wave. The family restaurant used a long table that split us into small teams. Balloons bumped the ceiling and the cake waited on a cart. I arrived with Iona and a bright smile I keep for office flyers. Aaron walked beside us, a step behind, and handled the booster like a routine. I thanked him in a careful voice that sounded like a hotel check-in. Kira slid in next to me and said the room needed fun. I agreed and said the week had been powerful and people should not fear power. Ruth sat near the window with Gareth. She watched me the way a person reads a map before a trip. Bread baskets landed. I started my story soft. I said the dinner had been silly and warm. I said I was teaching confidence. I said a quick touch under a table is nothing when the home is strong. Kira called it fresh marriage. She laughed and tapped her glass. Aaron cut Iona's chicken into squares and asked if she wanted more carrots. He kept his eyes on her plate. Ruth asked if I would be fine with Aaron doing the same touch to someone else at a family meal. I said I was modern and trusted my partner. Ruth asked if my version of trust had space for respect. I said respect is not fragile. My voice stayed glossy. Inside, I felt a small heat. Jokes moved up and down the table. Cousins asked about the rooftop invite they saw online. I said the city wanted a line, and I had one. Gareth poured water and said the cake looked good. He was kind to the room. He did not look at me. Aaron thanked the server each time a plate arrived. He folded the napkin on his lap like a quiet flag. I told the table that Aaron uses silence like weather, and then calls himself steady. I said steadiness without spark is just ice. A few people laughed because Kira laughed first. The cake arrived and the staff sang. I clapped and leaned in for photos. Aaron helped Iona hold the knife and then stepped back so her smile filled the picture. Ruth watched the small hands and the clean cut. I posted a caption about family strength and added soft light because I know how to look like love on a screen. A ping from Sahar hit my phone with a teaser. The famous knee line tonight. I saved it to share later. I liked the way the night kept obeying me. Plates cleared. I tried a second pass at the story. I said good wives keep love awake with play. I said tests prove hearts are alive. Ruth asked if I understood that a test can feel like a trap to the person not told the rules. I said only fragile people say trap. Ruth said children hear more than adults think. I said Iona hears joy. Iona asked if Milo was family now because he made me laugh in photos. My hand paused and then I poured her water. I said Milo was Daddy's friend and that friends help families smile. Erin asked the server for our bill and said we had an early morning. He thanked them and paid for our side. I called it punishment by silence. He did not answer. He folded the receipt and placed it in his wallet like a small book. Outside, the air was cooler. In the parking lot, Ruth asked to walk with me. She said, respect is not a game. She said public talk bruises private life. I said I was not gaming. I was building a brand. Ruth said brands come and go. Iona is a person, not a campaign. I said Iona learns from a strong mother. Ruth asked me to consider the words I choose once Iona learns to read on her own. I told her to trust me. She said she trusted children more than adults in storms. Gareth stood with his hands in his pockets and watched the street. He said we all want Iona steady. The message landed without a raise in any voice, which made it harder to push away. At home, the air held a faint smell of printer toner. The office nook light was on. On the desk, 3 binders sat in a tidy row: home, auto, bank. A sticky note on the lamp read, "Bring forms." The laptop screen glowed with a minimized window. The desktop was clean, with 2 folders named Archive A and Archive B. I heard the faint beep of a recording app, and then a small tap that stopped it. Aaron placed 2 mugs on opposite counters like a diagram. He asked if we could talk after Iona slept. I said routine first was a trap. He said routine first was care. I opened my phone instead and watched my earlier caption gather hearts. The fridge chimed with a reminder, Riverside Center, 1:05 p.m. I asked what that was. Aaron said errands. I said errands is a word that covers secrets. He said secrets and privacy are not the same. I told Kira on text that I was living with a filing cabinet. Kira said papermen fear bright wives, and that I should deliver the rooftop line hard. The phrase made me feel tall again. Iona brushed her teeth and asked if we were happy. I said yes, because adults talk in many tones. Aaron kissed the top of her head. He told her we would read 2 chapters, and then lights out. I watched the door close and told myself calm is a trick people use to win the room without sound. I told myself noise is honest. Later, I opened the office door and saw a small USB stick taped under a folder marked taxes. A cloud sync pop-up blinked on the laptop. File uploaded successfully. The sight made my skin prickle. I told myself he was staging. I told myself these were props, not plans. On the table, an unsealed envelope sat in the outbox. The flap lifted and fell in the vent air, like a slow breath. I touched nothing. Morning came with a bright sky. Iona asked for the park before school. I agreed because a sunny clip helps any narrative. We walked to the playground where the swings make a metal song. Aaron joined a minute later and stood at the side. Ruth appeared on the path with a small bag of bread for the birds. She said she had time and wanted to see Iona fly. She always says it gentle when she means business. I started to film, but Ruth asked if we could put phones away for 1 minute. She said she wanted Iona to feel seen with eyes, not with screens. I put my phone in my pocket and spread my fingers on the swing chain like a stage mark. Ruth asked how we planned to keep pickup steady this week. I said modern homes flex. She asked if I knew the difference between flex and fracture. I said old words like fracture belong to old worlds. Aaron said we would write steps tonight. I said I was not signing anything. He said no one asked for a signature. He said we would handle things calmly. The word calmly rubbed my teeth. Iona slowed her swing and looked between us. She asked who picks her up today if we both are busy. The question was small but exact. A neighbor with a dog, paused at the fence and watched us with a careful face. The dog's tags jingled once. The morning felt thin, like paper held to the sun. I opened my mouth to give the line I had planned for later, and the neighbor kept staring. The supermarket felt too bright, like someone turned the day up until the colors hurt. I took a basket and picked fruit and a bottle of wine. Aaron took a basket and picked milk, bread, and small snacks for Iona. We moved down the aisles like people who know the steps of a slow dance but do not touch. At the checkout, he set his items first and paid with his card. I put the wine after and paid with mine. The split looked clean, like a line down a page. I told myself he wanted to make a point. I told myself I could make a louder one. The cashier asked about our week. I said work was full and exciting. Aaron thanked her and asked for a second bag so the milk would not warm. He said he would go straight home to put it away. I said I had plans later. He did not ask which plans. The lack of a question felt like a small door left open just enough for wind. I messaged Sahar and wrote that I might come out tonight and that the city wanted the knee story again. She sent flame icons and a draft caption with my name in bold. Kira wrote that I should drown quiet people with light. I liked that line and saved it in my head. At the apartment, we set our bags on opposite counters. He stacked Iona's snacks in a clear bin and wrote the date on a label in small print. I uncorked the wine so it could breathe and left it like a flag in the middle. He asked if I could send him the receipt for the items that were for Iona, because he was tracking costs. I said I would do it later. He said later was fine. He moved like a person getting a room ready for a meeting. I followed him toward the office nook because I wanted to see his stage. The office smelled like printer toner and cool paper. On the laptop, a spreadsheet sat open with initials and dates in neat rows. The cells were small as seeds. When I stepped in, he minimized the window with one tap. He said he was finishing a list, and then he would cook pasta for Iona. I said he had turned our home into a file room. He said order helps when people are upset. I said I was not upset, only honest. He said he had heard my posts. I said posts are performance and do not count. He did not argue. 3 binders sat in a tidy row. Home, auto, bank. A thin binder labeled utilities looked thicker than it should. A sticky note on the lamp read, "Bring forms." Under a folder marked taxes, a small USB stick was taped to the wood with today's date written in tiny letters. My skin prickled. I told myself he was only dressing the set to scare me into a soft apology. I told myself smart men want bright wives. I told myself stories because stories keep the air warm around me. The laptop flashed a CloudSync pop-up that said, "File uploaded successfully." He closed the lid and asked if I needed the desk. I said I was only checking how he spends our lives doing homework. He said he was preparing, not punishing. I asked for what? He said, for steps that keep Iona steady. I said he was planning to box my money. He said we would talk about budgets, not punishments. I said, budgets sound like traps. He did not rise to it. He looked at the wall like calm was a picture he could hang. In the kitchen, the fridge chimed with a small note. Harbor Storage, 12:25 p.m. I asked what harbor storage was. He said storage. I said that was not helpful. He said the day had small tasks. I decided the note meant theater. I sent Kira a photo of the sticky and wrote that he was making lists for sport. She sent back a voice note I did not play, and then wrote that the crown sits heavy until you learn neck strength. Sahar messaged a real mock-up with my face, a soft filter, and text that called me brave. I liked the edit. It made me glow. At dinner, he explained Iona's homework packet in a low voice and set her pencil at the angle she likes. I ate fast and told myself I would not be trapped in a slow house. After dishes, he asked if we could sit and list steps for the week. He used soft words like steps and schedule. I said he was managing me, not helping me. He said structure was for Iona, not for control. I said passion matters more than paper. He said Shouting is not passion. The calm pressed against my skin like a weight. I opened the office door again while he wiped the table. The screen was lit now, bright against the dim room. The spreadsheet was minimized. A clean desktop showed a small tree with 2 folders named Archive A and Archive B. His phone lay beside the keyboard with a message thread open, titled Follow Up. The last line was short and formal. My chest tightened, even though the word said nothing I could twist. He appeared behind me and asked if I needed the desk. I said I was only checking how boring looked when it smiled. He suggested a quick drive to the parking garage to check the trunk for Iona's field trip list. We went down the stairs without touching. The garage made our footsteps echo like other people were walking with us. He opened the trunk and showed a neat bag with labels. He said the teacher asked for extra wipes. I said the teacher should email me. He said she had. He took a low-voice call and stepped 2 paces away. I heard answer and pause, like a metronome. When he turned back, I noticed a new key on his ring, a small square one that did not match our doors. I asked if it was new. He said it was for storage. He parked the car facing the street and said it made mornings easier. I said it made leaving easy. He did not answer. On the way up, I told him I might go out with Sahar and Kira, and that light would fix the day. He said I could make my own choices, but that home would follow steps. I said I felt pushed toward arms that made me feel warm. He said, loneliness does not clean a wound. I said I did not have a wound. He watched the door like patience was something he could pick up and put down. Back inside, he placed 2 mugs on opposite counters like a map. He asked if we could write the week plan now. He said we would keep Iona's pickup steady and our talk off the public stage. He said we would not move money in strange ways. He said we would lower the volume. I said volume is attention, and attention is survival. He said he was done arguing. He said we would handle this properly. The word properly made a small box in the air that my body wanted to kick. I asked what properly meant. He said it meant steps, not scenes. He said dates, not drama. He said clear times, not loud lines. He said Iona would be steady. He said online talk would not touch her. I said he was threatening to starve me. He said no one would starve. He said calm would return. I said calm as a muzzle. He said calm as a roof. We stood like 2 bookends with a silent book between us. He walked into the office, opened a drawer, placed something inside, and looked at the wall for a slow breath. He repeated that we would handle it properly. The small key turned. The drawer lock clicked clean at the same moment my phone lit with a group chat ping asking for a rooftop reel tonight. The click and the ping met in the air and split the room. The office tower lobby smelled like stone and coffee. I walked in with my phone ready for a soft selfie. A woman in a neat jacket stopped me and asked my name. I said it. She confirmed it and said she had documents for me. She handed me a thick envelope and said I was served. I laughed because laughing is my mask. She did not laugh. She stepped away. People watched without turning their heads. I opened the envelope. The first page said divorce petition. The next pages said temporary orders. One page said a custody schedule started today, with school exchange rules and a non-disparagement line about our child. Another page said temporary financial restraints on joint accounts. A third said temporary possession of listed items to Aaron. A hearing date sat close on a later page. The words felt heavy but flat. Galen came through the turnstile and asked if I needed a room to sit. Security asked me to step to the side and follow building courtesy. I said I was fine. My thumb tried to open my camera. It shook and missed the icon. A school staff text arrived and said pickup would follow the schedule in the order today. My chest went hot, then cold. Aaron stood a few paces away near a column. He did not come close. He nodded once. He said he would follow the schedule and expected the same. He said we could speak later, but not here. His voice was even. I wanted to call him weak. The word felt small in my mouth. HR asked if I could keep work tags off any posts about this. I said I heard them. Security asked if I understood the pickup plan for today. I said I did. I held the papers with both hands. The elevator bell rang. A phone flashed. The pages lifted in a gust and tapped my wrist.